Hello, I'm so happy to be here today to share this recipe with you. It reminds me so much of my mom and my grandmother. In memory of her, this is Nonna's Cucina with Marissa, sharing this recipe called Struffoli. Let us begin. Okay, we're doing a recipe today called Struffoli. It's the same recipe as le gnocchi, which are little bows. With the same dough, you can make little bows and then you can put powdered sugar on it. So today we're doing Struffoli, which they're little fried, deep fried little balls that you add honey and lemon on top mixed and then sprinkles. So we're going to be doing that right now. The eggs, you crack them in a bowl in case there are any shells, then I can retrieve them easier. But if you do get a shell while you're making this recipe, you're supposed to take off your gloves and wet your index finger and then reach for that eggshell and it'll pick right up on your finger. My grandma used to save everything and use everything, and she would actually, with her thumb, clean out the inside of the eggshells to get every single piece of egg that's available. And today I'm not going to, but you can if you want to. And then I'm gonna put a teaspoon of vanilla. So I'm beating this in advance. This is just easier to do, but that's just my preference. You don't have to do this step. You could just put it right into the bowl. The bowl is ready to have the eggs now, and I just like beating them a little bit, but that's not necessary. You do have to beat them in here. And we're gonna put a teaspoon of vanilla. You can also double and triple this recipe. You do not have to make the whole recipe. You can half the recipe if it's just one person. You could also freeze this. We do not freeze it. We make it near the holiday season before December 25th, and then we enjoy it throughout Christmas and New Year's. Three-quarters cups of sugar. I'm glad I have all the ingredients. You really don't need many ingredients, which is kind of nice. And I also like this recipe because you don't have to have crazy ingredients that you cannot find unless you go to a specialty place. But so I'm happy that it's just eggs, vanilla, sugar, flour, oil, and baking powder and salt, and that's it. Okay, so it's 3/4 cups of sugar. I would not use the sugar that is less sweet. There is sugar out there that is like cane sugar that is like a light brown. It looks like almost like brown sugar. But I would use the actual Domino or the actual sugar. Nothing cutting corners, you know, nothing unsweetened. Making Struffoli, it's one of my favorite things to eat, and it just reminds me of the Christmas season and New Year's, Thanksgiving. We always eat this around Christmas time and New Year's. Let's see, we're gonna add 3½ cups of flour right now. Let's say I have restrictions, or you have restrictions, or you're a diabetic, or you're not able to eat some of this food. You can still make it and enjoy making it and then give it to someone as a gift, or bring it when you go to the next event or to the next invitation. And so I get joy by making it, and I get joy by showing it and teaching, and also by giving it away. After the 3½ cups of flour, we need a half a cup of oil. I'm using vegetable oil, and that's the best choice. Sometimes you may have to substitute, I understand, but here we go. Here's a half a cup of vegetable oil. Since it's a new recipe, you'll say, well, how do I know that this is turning out right? I never made this before, so if it's wrong, I won't even know. You'll know because the people who will eat this will say, there's something wrong with this recipe. They will not hide it from you, and I won't hide it from you, that people will tell you if it's good or not. And then 2 teaspoons of baking powder. I keep my baking powder in the fridge. I don't bake every day, 3 times a day, so I have it in the fridge. But you do not have to keep it in the fridge. But I have baking powder and baking soda. I keep it in the refrigerator for freshness, of course. Same like with walnuts, same like with other things, like cereal. But in this case, here is the 2 teaspoons of baking powder. I got this idea to share these recipes. I know you could go online and get any recipe you prefer, but I decided to do this so that I could show my family and future generations the recipes that my grandma taught me, and my mom and my cousins and family members. When I say dash of salt, we got Himalayan salt, we got pink salt, but I want to use regular salt for the recipe. So I'm going to use the regular salt. Here it is. Salt. A dash of salt. I guess that's a dash. I don't know. We'll see if I did this right. Okay. This reminds me of my childhood. I haven't done this recipe in a very long time, but I would make it more often if there would be more people in the family that want to eat it. But all my relatives that enjoy this recipe are gone, and it's just my mom and I, and that's about it. So this is a rarity, but it's also fun to bring back memories. Mix it. It's going to be a little bit of, I'm going to use my hands here, and it's got to be a little bit hard dough. So when my mom told me that, I'm trying to be more accurate and specific. She just said the dough has to be hard. I talked to her today, but in other words, not soft like bread, more like a hard dough, and I'll show you in a minute what's going to happen here. This is the smallest recipe. This is the original recipe, and I don't know how many this will make, but we're going to discover it together. And the next step is rolling it and making it look like a ball, and then we're going to take a piece and roll it out into a pencil snake shape. I would say this is formed. I can tell because from just years of baking and cooking that all the ingredients are coagulating or sticking together, and then you can just tell that it's ready. If you don't know how to tell, the tip is that the bottom of the bowl is clean and nothing is sticking. And so I'm just going to make a ball. It's just the easier way to show you. If I was doing this on my own, I wouldn't find it necessary to turn it into a ball. I would just leave the dough. But for teaching purposes and to instruct you on this recipe, you could turn it into a ball. You don't have to. Now I'm going to go to the next step, which is I'm going to take a piece of this and make a strand. The next step is to put your pan on medium heat with vegetable oil. It has to be deep fried. Of course, you could try air frying. Of course, you could try baking these for healthier versions of this recipe, but I'm making it the original way that my grandma made it, that her grandmother taught her, her mother, and it goes way back to generations. Try to keep them all the same size and the same width and the same thickness. but that comes with practice. My grandma would make these perfect. Our neighbor would make this perfect. My mom would make these perfect. And the rest of us are gonna practice. Cutting. So you go like this. Now you could leave them like this, or you could roll them. We always rolled them, but if you don't want to, you could leave them like this. Go. Okay, the step that we're at now is that the dough is ready to be fried in the hot oil. We had to get another pan because the water was in the oil for some reason. The pan wasn't fully dried and it was going everywhere. So this is a clean pan with clean oil. We're deep frying the honey balls. You turn them over once. When they're golden, you take them out and put them on this paper towel tray to absorb the oil. Practice makes perfect. They're not all the exact size, and that's going to be a problem when you're cooking, because now some will cook earlier, some will burn, some won't cook all the way through. So that's why the recipe calls for taking your time and making sure that the balls are evenly shaped, so that they will cook evenly when they're in the hot oil. Going to melt the honey. This is the last step, and the balls are already fried and deep fried and on a paper towel. And now we're going to put in the pan, which there's nothing in there right now. We're going to add lemon juice, which is freshly squeezed, and honey. So my mom never gave me the exact measurements, so this is how we're doing it. So the melted honey and the melted lemon juice is on the stovetop, and we're going to gently and slowly add the honey balls, which are just fried balls, into the melted honey and the melted, well, mixture of honey and lemon juice.
right. What do you think?
It's so good.
So good.
Oh my gosh, this is
Here.
Christmas.
Cheers.
Cheers. This is Christmas.
Oh. Cheers.
This is Christmas.